Senior year stress was killing me, so I had this secret way to cope. I'd steal kisses from this gorgeous mute guy. The dopamine release helped reduce my anxiety. Lucky for me, he couldn't speak, so he'd never tell anyone about what I did to him. Here I was again. I'd bombed another monthly exam, so I cornered him in the woods and kissed him until we were both breathless. His hands trembled as they rested on my waist. His voice came out low and husky. Emma, don't stop. We both froze at the same time, because the guy I thought was mute could actually talk, and the name he called out, Emma, wasn't mine. I pulled away, my lips still wet from his kiss. I was completely lost for words. For almost 3 years, I'd never heard Ethan speak a single word. Everyone in class knew him as the gorgeous mute guy. That's why after my first failed exam, I dared to pin him down and kiss him. Now my palms were sweating. You can talk? Why were you pretending to be mute? Ethan wiped his lips with his finger. If I could talk, I was afraid it might ruin your fun. After all, bullying someone who can't snitch is way more interesting than someone who could expose you. He really had me figured out. I coughed awkwardly, feeling embarrassed. I looked down and kicked a pebble at my feet. You better not tell anyone about this, or I'll tell everyone about your secret crush. After threatening Ethan, I ran away. I couldn't be sure if my threat would actually work on him. This was such a disaster. Who could have seen this coming? A guy with god-tier looks who only missed being the school heartthrob because everyone thought he was mute. But this guy wasn't mute at all. 3 whole years of high school, he managed to control himself and never said a single word. How devious could this guy be? I felt defeated, cursing him in my head while feeling sorry for myself. No more chances to relieve my stress. After all, he was the only guy in school who was pale and pretty, with pink fingernails and eyelids. Anyone else, and I probably couldn't bring myself to kiss them. Why did he have to have a crush on someone else? I could pretty much guess who it was. Emma Wilson, the girl who transferred to our accelerated class in junior year and immediately stole the title of class beauty. Pure and sweet, petite and delicate. Compared to all us bookworm girls with thick glasses and bangs, it wasn't surprising that every guy in the world would fall for her. Back in the classroom, I opened my test paper and worked through each wrong answer again. I heard footsteps stop beside me. Looking up, Ethan was staring at my paper, his long fingers pointing to my mistakes. Subtract the 2 equations. Your exponent is wrong. The second to last term isn't 2. It's 2 superscript 1. The noisy classroom suddenly went silent. Someone gasped. Who? Did Ethan just speak? Isn't Ethan mute? Everyone's eyes were on his face. Ethan showed no expression, pulled his hand back, and returned to his seat without another word. Wait, I didn't mishear that, did I? Someone asked me. Sophia, was Ethan talking to you? Yeah, I think I heard him helping you with a problem. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. I had no idea how to explain this. After all, in class, I'd never had any interaction with Ethan, the mute guy suddenly speaking, and to me, someone he barely knew. How could I explain this in a way anyone would believe? Just when I was at a loss, Emma suddenly turned around and smiled at our classmates. Yes, Ethan can speak. He just thinks his voice doesn't sound good, so he usually talks less. The pretty girl just smiled, and someone immediately crowded around her with an wow. Emma, how do you know? Right, has Ethan talked to you privately? We've been classmates for 3 years and never heard him speak. She smiled. Her silky hair fell obediently across her paper. Ethan and I live near each other. A classmate chimed in. No wonder. I always see you two taking the same bus to and from school. Emma pressed her lips together, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Shoo, let's focus on the problems. So that's how it was. I looked away. I felt a bit jealous, but then thought my jealousy was completely unreasonable. After all, Ethan had a crush on Emma. It was perfectly normal for them to be close. What right did I have to feel sour about it when I was just someone who secretly used him for stress relief? I shook my head. I picked up my pen again and worked through the problem following Ethan's steps. I checked my answer with a classmate who got it right. The answers matched. It suddenly occurred to me. Maybe Ethan didn't speak because he wanted to avoid people asking him for help with problems. Emma and I weren't really friends. Since she transferred to our class, our only interaction was me handing her test papers a few times. Before class, I brought back a stack of test papers as usual. When I handed hers over, Emma suddenly looked up and smiled with sparkling eyes. Sophia, give me Ethan's paper too. I'll take it to him. I didn't say anything. She blinked at me. After all, Ethan hates it when people approach him with bad intentions. I'm just worried he might misunderstand you. There was a dull ache in my chest. I turned to look at the boy I'd forcibly kissed dozens of times. He was looking down, completely focused on the physics problem he was working on. Seeming to sense my gaze, Ethan looked up and our eyes met. For a moment, my heart jumped into my throat. The next second, Emma laughed out loud at him. Ethan, I need to return the bus card I borrowed this morning. His gaze fell on Emma's face. There seemed to be more warmth in his eyes. Oh, so he was looking at Emma just now. I looked away, pretending nothing happened, but someone tugged at the papers in my hand. Looking over, Emma was frowning. Sophia, I'm not trying to take away your right as class representative to distribute papers. I just wanted to return something to Ethan while I'm there. She tilted her head. You won't give me the papers. Could it be that you really do have bad intentions toward Ethan? That was way too big an accusation. I quickly let go. The papers in my hand scattered to the floor. No, that's not it. I frantically tried to pick them up, but a pristine white sneaker quietly stepped on one of the papers. The blank test paper suddenly had a footprint on it. She lifted her foot as if just realizing what happened. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm so sorry. Even though I was slow to catch on, by now, I could sense Emma's hostility toward me. I threw all the papers I'd picked up onto her desk. Speak up. What exactly are you trying to do? Instantly, the classroom fell silent. Everyone's attention focused on the two of us. Her smile disappeared completely in an instant, her lips trembling. Her face also turned slightly pale. What's wrong? Sophia, I didn't do anything to upset you, did I? There was movement from the back of the classroom. Soon, Ethan's voice came from behind and above me. What's going on? Immediately, Emma's eyes turned red. I don't know. Sophia just suddenly got angry at me. I clenched my fists, anger burning inside me. Who would have thought Emma could provoke someone and then turn around and play innocent? I went through everything that had just happened, and just as I was about to tell everyone the truth, Ethan was already frowning. Sophia, don't bully the new student. All my words got stuck in my throat in an instant. I had never never bullied Emma. Besides, Emma had been in our class for a year now. How could she still be the new student? Too many words were trapped in my throat, almost making my expression contort. And some nearby classmates were even nodding. Yeah, Sophia, you're the physics class representative. You can't target Emma just because her physics grades are better than yours. My anger flared up. Emma's lips moved, and she looked at Ethan hesitantly, as if trying to defend me. It might not be about physics grades. Maybe Sophia is just jealous that Ethan and I live near each other. Her voice got smaller and smaller, less and less confident as she spoke, but it was enough for everyone to hear clearly. The classmates who had been gossiping suddenly stopped talking. Their shocked gazes went back and forth between me and Ethan. Holy crap, so that's what this is about. You mean Sophia has feelings for Ethan?
The classroom exploded. A dozen pairs of eyes locked onto me at once. Wait, seriously? No way. Sophia likes Ethan. I mean, she just spent a lot of time looking at him. Heat rushed to my face so fast I thought I might pass out. Emma lowered her head, looking guilty. Oh no. I shouldn't have said that. The performance was flawless. My hand shook. I don't like Ethan. The classroom immediately went quiet again. Emma blinked. What? I said I don't like Ethan. I looked directly at her. And don't put words in my mouth. For the first time since this argument started, her expression stiffened. I took a deep breath. Also, stop acting like I bullied you. The room became so silent you could hear a pen drop. Emma's eyes widened. Sophia, you stepped on the test paper. I apologized. You accused me of having bad intentions toward Ethan. I was joking. And then you implied I was jealous of you. Emma's face turned pale. The classmates around us exchanged awkward glances. Because everything I said had happened right in front of them. Before, everyone had been distracted by Emma's tears. Now that I pointed it out, the situation suddenly looked different. A girl near the window hesitated. Actually, everyone turned toward her. I did hear Emma say the thing about bad intentions first. Another student nodded. Yeah, I heard it too. The atmosphere instantly changed. Emma's face lost all color. She looked toward Ethan as if asking for help. Unfortunately for her, Ethan wasn't looking at her anymore. He was looking at me, completely focused on me. His dark eyes were unreadable. I suddenly remembered all those kisses in the woods. My face heated again. Then Ethan spoke. She's right. Everyone froze, including Emma. Ethan calmly continued. Emma started it. The entire classroom nearly exploded a second time, because Ethan never talked. And now he was not only talking, he was taking someone's side. Emma's lips trembled. Ethan, you stepped on her paper. You accused her first. And she never bullied you. Every sentence hit like a hammer. Emma looked like she had been slapped. For the first time, tears genuinely filled her eyes. Not fake tears. Real ones. Because the person she thought would always stand behind her had just publicly contradicted her. The bell rang. Class started. The argument ended there. But the rumors didn't. By lunchtime, the entire grade knew two things. First, Ethan could talk. Second, nobody knew whether I liked Ethan, including me. That afternoon, I skipped my usual route home. Unfortunately, fate seemed determined to make my life miserable. As soon as I entered the small forest path behind the school, a familiar voice sounded behind me. Sophia. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Ethan stood there. Tall, pretty, annoyingly handsome, and very much capable of speaking. My heart immediately started racing. What? His gaze dropped to my lips. I instantly remembered exactly how many times those lips had kissed him. His ears turned slightly red. Mine probably looked even worse. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then Ethan quietly asked, "Are you really not going to kiss me anymore?" My brain stopped working. What? His fingers tightened around the strap of his backpack. You said you didn't like me. I stared at him. He looked strangely upset. Almost wronged. You have a crush on Emma. The moment the words left my mouth, Ethan frowned. Who told you that? I blinked. Everyone. Everyone is wrong. I felt my heartbeat begin to speed up. Dangerously fast. Ethan took a step closer. His voice was low. The person I like isn't Emma. The forest suddenly felt very quiet. I swallowed. Then who is it? For the first time in 3 years, Ethan looked nervous. Actually nervous. His gaze locked onto mine. And then he said, "The girl who kept kissing me for 3 years." My entire world went blank. Because the next thing Ethan said was even worse. Emma is my cousin. My brain crashed. Completely. Utterly. Spectacularly. You're what? Ethan looked almost offended. My cousin. I stared at him. He stared back. I stared harder. Your cousin? Yes. The Emma you've been taking the same bus with every day? Yes. The Emma everyone thinks you're in love with? Yes. The Emma who just caused the biggest misunderstanding of my life? Also yes. I covered my face. This was too much. For an entire year, I had convinced myself that Ethan liked Emma. For an entire year, I'd been secretly jealous of his cousin. I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself. Ethan watched me quietly. Then he asked. So? My heart skipped. So? You haven't answered my confession. I nearly choked. Confession? That counted as a confession? You said it like you were reporting the weather. Ethan actually laughed. Laughed. A real laugh. The sound was unfairly attractive. You want me to try again? No. Too late. His eyes softened. Sophia. The way he said my name made my stomach flip. I like you. My face immediately turned scarlet. The forest seemed 10 degrees hotter. I liked you the first time you kissed me. I froze. The first time? Ethan nodded. You were crying. The memory hit me. Freshman year. The first monthly ranking exam. I'd dropped nearly 30 places. I'd hidden behind the gym and cried my eyes out. Then I'd accidentally run into Ethan. Back then everyone thought he was mute. He'd silently handed me tissues. And in a moment of stress-induced insanity, I'd grabbed his collar and kissed him. I wanted to disappear. I was 14. You were terrifying. What? You kissed me and then ran away. I buried my face in my hands. Please stop talking. I spent the next week wondering if it would happen again. My head snapped up. What? Ethan looked away. His ears were red. It did. I remembered. Unfortunately. It really did. Every exam disaster somehow ended with me tracking Ethan down and stealing another kiss. Looking back, my behavior was incredibly questionable. Ethan. Why didn't you stop me? His expression became strange. After a long silence, he finally answered. Because I didn't want you to stop. The forest became very quiet. My heartbeat grew louder. And louder. Then Ethan stepped closer. Close enough that I could see his eyelashes. Close enough that my brain started malfunctioning again. Sophia. What? You know. What? His gaze dropped briefly to my lips. Then back to my eyes. Now that you know I can talk. My pulse jumped. So? A faint smile appeared on his face. You can ask for permission. My face exploded. Ethan. He laughed again. Actually laughed. The cold, untouchable school prince everyone admired was laughing so hard his shoulders were shaking. I had never seen this side of him before. And somehow, I liked it. A lot. Unfortunately, fate wasn't done embarrassing me. A familiar voice suddenly shrieked from behind a nearby tree. I knew it. Both of us froze. Then 3 classmates tumbled out from the bushes. Followed by 2 more. And another one. My jaw dropped. What are you doing here? One of them looked completely unapologetic. We followed Ethan. We wanted to know who he liked. I told them it was Sophia. No, you said it was Emma. The group immediately started arguing. I wanted to die. Right there. Immediately. Ethan sighed. For the first time all afternoon, he looked annoyed. The students instantly shut up. Then Ethan calmly reached for my hand. The entire group gasped, including me. Our fingers intertwined. His grip was warm and steady. He looked at our stunned classmates and spoke in the same calm voice he used when solving physics problems. Since you're all here. The students leaned forward. Ethan continued. Save yourselves the trouble of spreading rumors. He squeezed my hand. Sophia is my girlfriend. The forest erupted into screaming. The screaming lasted a full minute. No way. Ethan actually has a girlfriend? He talks. That's the part you're surprised about? One classmate looked personally betrayed. 3 years. 3 years, Ethan. We sat next to each other for 3 years. Ethan nodded. And that's all you have to say? The boy nearly fainted. Meanwhile, I was still stuck on one word. Girlfriend. Girlfriend? I slowly turned to Ethan. He noticed immediately. Problem? You just announced that I'm your girlfriend. His expression remained calm. Yes. We never discussed that. A pause. Then, for the first time all day, Ethan looked slightly guilty. Oh. The surrounding students instantly burst into laughter. So the genius finally made a mistake. Rejected before the relationship even started. Record speed. I watched Ethan's ears turn red. The sight was so rare that I almost forgot my embarrassment. Almost. Then he cleared his throat. A very deliberate throat clearing. Sophia. Yes. Would you like to be my girlfriend? The entire forest went silent. Every classmate leaned forward. Waiting. Watching. I looked at Ethan. Really looked at him. The boy who had silently sat beside me for 3 years. The boy who always somehow appeared whenever I was having a terrible day. The boy who remembered the exact date of my first failed exam. The boy who had apparently liked me since freshman year. And the boy who had tolerated an absolutely unreasonable number of surprise kisses. My face grew warm. You're kind of an idiot. The spectators gasped. Ethan blinked. I am. You let me misunderstand things for over a year. That's true. You pretended to be mute. Also true. You watched me embarrass myself repeatedly. A pause. Then Ethan quietly said. You were cute. The spectators immediately lost control again. Oh my god. I'm going to throw up. That was so smooth. I covered my burning face. Ethan looked entirely too pleased with himself. Finally I sighed. Fine. The crowd froze. Ethan froze too. I squeezed his hand. Yes. For the first time since I'd met him, Ethan looked completely stunned. As if he hadn't actually expected me to agree. Then a slow smile appeared on his face. And just like that, every girl who secretly had a crush on Ethan probably had their heart broken. Because when Ethan smiled genuinely, he looked unfairly handsome. The crowd immediately erupted again. Somebody started clapping. Someone else was recording. A third person was already creating a class group chat announcement. Ethan and Sophia officially confirmed. Stop posting that. It's too late. It's already sent. I wanted to grab their phones and throw them into a river. Ethan, meanwhile, seemed perfectly content. As long as he was holding my hand. The next morning, I discovered just how fast gossip traveled. Every student who passed our classroom looked inside. Some even pretended to need water from the hallway fountain. Just to stare. I wanted to disappear. Ethan didn't care. Not even a little. He was calmly solving a math problem. As if he hadn't become the center of every rumor in school. Then someone entered the classroom. Emma. The room immediately became quiet. Everyone remembered what had happened yesterday. Emma paused near our desks. For a second, I thought she might start something again. Instead, she looked at Ethan. Then at me. And sighed. You two finally figured it out. I blinked. What? Emma rolled her eyes. You have no idea how painful it was watching this. My brain stopped. Watching what? Ethan staring at you every day. I turned toward Ethan. His expression became suspiciously neutral. Emma laughed. See? Emma. See? He's embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. You absolutely are. The class watched with fascination as the cousins argued. Finally, Emma looked at me. Sophia. What? Sorry. The apology caught me completely off guard. She rubbed the back of her neck. I was jealous. I stared. She continued reluctantly. Not because I liked Ethan. The classroom visibly relaxed. Because Ethan always paid attention to you. Now everyone leaned forward again. Including me. Emma sighed dramatically. Do you know how annoying it is? Ethan barely talks to anyone. But if Sophia gets one question wrong, suddenly he's a tutor. If Sophia looks sad, he's watching her all day. If Sophia falls asleep during lunch, he's putting his jacket over her. My jaw slowly dropped. He did what? Emma pointed at Ethan. Ask him. For once, the famous Ethan had absolutely no response. And the entire class burst out laughing. For the first time in years, the pressure of rankings, exams, and university applications didn't feel quite so heavy. Because whenever I looked up from my books now, there was always someone looking back at me. Someone who had waited 3 years to say what he really felt. And unlike before, he wasn't staying silent anymore. University entrance exams arrived faster than anyone expected. The entire senior class was losing their minds. Some students stopped checking social media. Others stopped sleeping. One guy became convinced drinking 6 energy drinks a day would improve his scores. It did not. As for me, I had a new problem. Dating Ethan was terrible for my concentration. Not because he distracted me. Because he was too helpful. Sophia. You've been staring at that question for 7 minutes. I groaned and dropped my head onto the library desk. I'm thinking. No, you're suffering. Same thing. A hand slid a piece of paper in front of me. The solution was already written out. Neat. Perfect. Annoyingly correct. I glared at him. You make me feel stupid. Ethan looked confused. You're ranked 8th in the entire grade. Exactly. That's good. Not when my boyfriend is ranked first. A pause. Then he reached over and flicked my forehead. I gasped. You hit me. You called yourself stupid. That's not the point. It is. I rubbed my forehead while pouting. Ethan stared at me for a moment. Then his lips curved upward. I immediately pointed at him. Don't smile. Why? Because every time you smile at me I forget what I was studying. For once, Ethan looked caught off guard. His ears slowly turned red. Mission accomplished. A week before the exams, our class held a final meeting. The homeroom teacher stood at the podium longer than usual. For the first time, she looked emotional. You've all worked very hard. Nobody spoke. After next week, you'll graduate. The room became quiet. Painfully quiet. Only then did it hit us. 3 years. 3 whole years. They were ending. I looked around the classroom. The desks. The whiteboard. The notes taped to the walls. The classmates I'd seen every day. Even the annoying ones. Suddenly, I didn't want to leave. The teacher cleared her throat. Now, a smile appeared on her face. Before graduation, does anyone have something they'd like to say? Immediately, the class began shouting. Not me. I'm too embarrassed. Let Ethan speak. The room exploded. Yes, Ethan, Ethan, Ethan. I buried my face in my hands. The chanting grew louder. The teacher laughed. Ethan? The entire room stared at him. After all, for 3 years, nobody had heard him speak. Now everyone wanted to hear what he would say. Ethan stood. The classroom instantly fell silent. He looked around slowly, then spoke. Thank you. Several girls immediately started crying. Someone shouted from the back. That's it. The room burst into laughter. Even Ethan looked amused. After a pause, he continued. Thank you for being kind to me. The laughter faded. His voice remained calm. But there's one person I want to thank most. I froze. No. No way. Absolutely not. The class immediately turned toward me. Traitors. Every single one of them. Ethan ignored my horrified expression. 3 years ago, nobody talked to me very much. The room grew quiet. I didn't know how to start conversations. I wasn't good with people. His gaze found mine. But someone approached me first. My face was burning. Even if her methods were questionable. The classroom exploded. Questionable. What does that mean? Sophia, what did you do? I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. Ethan continued before anyone could ask more questions. Because of her, high school became something I'll never forget. The room became silent again. A few students actually started tearing up. Even the teacher was smiling. Then Ethan looked directly at me and said, Thank you, Sophia. Just 5 words. Yet somehow they hit harder than anything else. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Then I stood up. Everyone waited. I looked at Ethan, then smiled. You're welcome. The class applauded. Some students were crying. Others were recording. One guy was loudly pretending not to cry while obviously crying. It was chaos. Perfect chaos. The kind that only happens at the end of something important. And as I looked around the classroom one last time, I realized something. For years, I thought Ethan was my escape from stress. My way to survive exams. My secret source of comfort. But somewhere along the way, that had changed. He wasn't my escape anymore. He had become my reason to keep moving forward. And judging by the way he looked at me, I had become the same thing for him. The final bell rang. And with it, our high school story came to an end. But ours was only just beginning. For years later, the university campus was covered in golden afternoon sunlight. I sat on a bench outside the engineering building, staring at my laptop and groaning. Some things never changed. No matter how old I got, exams still found ways to ruin my life. A shadow fell across my screen. Without looking up, I already knew who it was. You're frowning again. I closed my laptop. And you're still annoyingly good at appearing out of nowhere. Ethan sat beside me. He was older now. Broader shoulders. Sharper features. Still unfairly handsome. Still first in every class he ever touched. And still the person I wanted to see most at the end of every day. He handed me a drink. I accepted it automatically. For years together had created habits neither of us questioned anymore. How did your interview go? I asked. It went well. Of course it did. A few months earlier, one of the country's biggest tech companies had practically fought to recruit him. Meanwhile, I was still deciding between graduate school and a research position. Life wasn't nearly as dramatic as high school anymore. There were no classroom rumors. No monthly rankings posted on bulletin boards. No Emma causing chaos. Well, mostly no Emma. My phone buzzed. A new message appeared. Emma. My aunt wants to know when Ethan is proposing. I showed the screen to Ethan. He sighed. Block her. I've tried. Try harder. I laughed. Some things never changed. Graduation arrived. Families filled the auditorium. Cameras flashed endlessly. Students took photos with friends they promised to stay in touch with forever. Some would, some wouldn't. That's how life worked. After the ceremony, I found Ethan standing alone beneath a flowering tree. Just like the one where we'd first started meeting after school. He looked nervous. Which was strange. Because Ethan never got nervous. What's wrong? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his pocket. My heart stopped. No. He nodded. Yes. Ethan. We're in public. There are hundreds of people here. Your answers are getting shorter. I know. Then he dropped to one knee. The entire world seemed to freeze. Some nearby graduates gasped. Others immediately pulled out their phones. I could already imagine Emma screaming somewhere nearby. Ethan looked up at me. For a moment, I saw the same boy from high school. The boy who sat quietly by the window. The boy everyone thought couldn't speak. The boy who had waited years before saying what he felt. Then he smiled. That same smile. The one that always ruined my ability to think. Sophia. My eyes were already stinging. I spent 3 years pretending not to talk. A few people nearby laughed. I spent another 4 years talking to you every day. His voice softened. And somehow that still doesn't feel like enough. The tears finally spilled over. I don't need stress relief kisses anymore. The crowd laughed again. I wanted to die from embarrassment. But I was smiling too hard to care. Ethan held out a ring. So, let's make it permanent. His eyes never left mine. Will you marry me? The answer came instantly. Without hesitation. Without fear. Without overthinking. Yes. The crowd erupted into cheers. Someone started clapping. Someone else was crying. A familiar voice shouted. I knew it. Emma. Of course it was Emma. We both laughed. Ethan slid the ring onto my finger. Then he stood. For a moment, neither of us moved. 7 years. From stressed teenagers hiding in the woods, to adults standing beneath the sunlight. It felt impossible. Yet here we were. I wrapped my arms around his neck. One question. I narrowed my eyes. Back in high school. If I hadn't kissed you first. Ethan smiled. The answer came immediately. I would have found another way. What way? He leaned down and pressed a kiss to my forehead. Then whispered. You really think I spent 3 years silently watching you without a plan? For the first time in years, I felt my face burn bright red. And Ethan laughed. The same warm laugh that had once shocked an entire classroom. The same laugh I wanted to hear for the rest of my life. As the sunlight filtered through the trees and the cheers echoed around us, I realized something. My favorite memory wasn't the first kiss. Or the confession. Or even the proposal. It was every ordinary day in between. The days when we studied together. Walked home together. Argued over stupid things. And chose each other again and again. Because in the end, love wasn't built from grand moments. It was built from thousands of small ones. And ours had started with a secret kiss in the woods.